In the summer of 1644, two massive armies converged on a patch of Yorkshire moorland. Control of the entire north of England would be decided by the outcome of the Battle of Marston Moore. King Charles I faced a severe crisis. His military position was slipping away to rising parliamentary forces, making victory here essential to maintaining power. On the far right flank of the battlefield, the Royalist forces faced a catastrophic mismatch. Roughly 2,600 men under the command of Lord Byron were staring down an opposing line of 5,000 parliamentarians. Leading those 5,000 was Oliver Cromwell. His men were heavily armed, highly motivated, and posed an overwhelming physical threat to the stretched Royalist line. To hold this flank against a 2-to-1 numerical disadvantage, the Royalists had to execute a precise, mechanical defensive strategy with total discipline. This map details Marston Moore. Prince Rupert designed a strict blueprint to neutralize Cromwell's cavalry. A prominent ditch and marshy ground separated the forces, acting as a natural break. Behind it, Rupert layered his trap, 1,500 musketeers and cannons interspersed directly within his cavalry. Rupert gave Lord Byron an absolute mandate: hold the position. The cavalry had to wait, let the rough terrain slow Cromwell's advance, and allow the massed musket fire to disorder before moving an inch. Rupert had engineered a perfect defensive kill zone. The Royalists' success on this flank depended entirely on their ability to maintain absolute patience. Patience, however, was not Lord Byron's defining trait. He was a proud and reckless aristocratic cavalier, whose ego stood in sharp contrast to Prince Rupert's calculated discipline. For hours, the Royalist troops were forced to stand completely stationary. All the while, they absorbed a persistent, punishing artillery bombardment from the parliamentary cannons. Internal friction began to build. Byron was surrounded by young, aggressive officers, and he faced relentless questioning. Why submit to this passive delay instead of mounting a counterattack? The tension finally snapped when Cromwell's cavalry erupted. 5,000 men surged forward in a massive, synchronized charge directly toward the Royalist line. Byron's nerve failed under the psychological strain of the passive defense. He discarded Rupert's planning to act as a rogue element, overriding the entire defensive system. Byron abandoned his strict defensive posture. Instead of holding the line, he ordered his men forward into a pell-mell, disorganized charge to meet Cromwell head-on. The immediate consequence was friendly fire. As Byron's cavalry charged forward, they physically scattered Colonel Napier's musketeers, instantly blinding their own defensive fire and breaking the trap. Then, Byron's cavalry hit the ditch and the marshland at full speed. The terrain that was supposed to trap Cromwell instantly bogged down the Royalists, destroying their momentum. Cromwell's organized troops crashed into Byron's disorganized, stalled cavalry. The clash was entirely one-sided, and the Royalists were swept away with ease. Charging out of sheer impatience, Byron weaponized his own army's defensive terrain against his own men. He dismantled Rupert's carefully engineered machine from the inside. This collapse had immediate spatial consequences. The entire right wing of the Royalist army was suddenly broken, leaving the flank completely undefended. Cromwell capitalized instantly. He took his victorious cavalry and swept entirely around the back of Prince Rupert's main army. At the same time, on the opposite side of the battlefield, the situation was entirely different. General Goring was commanding the Royalist left wing. Goring had held his nerve and executed his orders. His left wing had actually succeeded in defeating their parliamentary opponents, securing what should have been a major tactical advantage. But the brutal geometry of battle renders local success meaningless if the rear is exposed. Goring's men were now completely vulnerable to the disaster unfolding behind them. Cromwell's cavalry rode freely through the massive gap Byron had created. They crossed the battlefield and fell directly upon Goring's victorious left wing from behind. Caught off guard and attacked from the rear, the Royalist left wing shattered. The collapse spread rapidly, routing the center of the army as well. This single cascading failure won the battle for Parliament. As a direct result, King Charles I lost control of the entire north of England. Prince Rupert had drafted a brilliant, meticulous plan capable of neutralizing a vastly larger enemy force. A single human flaw dismantled it. Cromwell's numbers provided the strength, but Byron's disobedience provided the opportunity. On this field, a single commander's ego proved more destructive than the enemy.